aquí en la pantalla. Si tienen preguntas, hay unas preguntas y se las hacemos saber cuando tengamos un minuto para contestar preguntas.
So UCCE San Bernardino County is one of the fortunate counties that has a master food preserver program. The Orange County is the next county that has one that's closest here in Southern California. Riverside does not have a program. So we are ecstatic that in San Bernardino County, we have this great program that we can bring to everybody. Our program is a division of the Agricultural and Natural Resources, UCANR, with UC Davis, providing our education and peer-reviewed information. And we are a volunteer group, and our volunteers are sharing peer-reviewed research-based information on home preservation and food safety.
Somos muy afortunados de ser parte del condado de San Bernardino de la extensión cooperativa, porque la próxima condado que tiene programa de Master Food Preserver, la preservación de la comida, es Orange County, el condado de Orange. El condado de Riverside no tiene ese programa, entonces, siendo parte de San Bernardino, tenemos el gusto y el placer de recibir los beneficios de los estudios que hacen la División de Agricultura y los Recursos Naturales, que es UCANR. Esa presentación y el trabajo que hacemos es dirigido por voluntarios y todas las recetas y la sabiduría de ese programa viene basado de encuestas y investigaciones académicas.
I'm sorry, I did not introduce myself. My name is Dee Denton and I am the program coordinator, but I'm also a volunteer with our program.
Perdóname, introducí con ustedes, me llamo Dee y soy la maestra preservadora de ese programa. And my name is Evelyn, and I will be translating Spanish today. I'm an employee with the Inland Empire Resource Conservation District, and I am the market coordinator for the IERCD. I mostly work with Huerta del Valle, managing their markets, and work with a little bit of farmer outreach. And I want to tell you a little bit about the IERCD.
Please do.
Thank you. Hola, me llamo Evelyn y soy la manejadora de los mercados de Huerta del Valle y trabajo con Inland Empire Resource Conservation District. Y les voy a decir un poquito de IERCD. The IERCD is a public agency headquartered in the city of Redlands and focusing on open space preservation, wildland rehabilitation, and education and outreach to residents with 1,300 square miles of northwestern Riverside and southwestern San Bernardino. We're really fortunate that this resource conservation district receives benefits and taxpayer money, so we are able to do a lot of good work in restoration, rehabilitation, and really provide open space for the residents of San Bernardino County and Redlands. El IERCD es una agencia pública que está en la ciudad de Redlands y nos enfocamos en la preservación de la tierra pública, de la tierra silvestre y de las tierras que son demarcadas y destruidas por el medio ambiente y las rehabilitamos. Estamos muy afortunados que estamos parte de este conservación distrito porque tenemos esos beneficios y los recursos para mantener nuestras tierras públicas muy lindas y bonitas. Thank you.
Before you go on, I got to really share with everybody that I am extremely fortunate that IERCD has allowed us to come in and provide this education. They do a great job supporting our volunteer and our community outreach. And it's wonderful that we have their support so that we can bring these types of, I don't want to say recordings, but this type of information out to the public.
Y también les gustaría compartir que es muy agradecida a la IERCD por ser un colega en esos estudios, en esas presentaciones que dan muchos recursos y beneficios y apoyo a los Master Food Preservers.
I'm going to turn this over here to Cal State San Bernardino for them to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Herbert Gonzalez. I am the Senior Program Coordinator with ASI. Hola a todos. Me llamo Herbert Gonzalez y soy el coordinador de programas en ASI.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Swanee Echeverria, and I'm the ASI Board of Director for the College of Education for Cal State University San Bernardino. Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Swanee Echeverria y soy la directora del Departamento Gubernamental de los Estudiantes de la Universidad de San Bernardino y soy directora del Colegio de Educación.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alexander Thamby. I am the ASI Board Director for Sustainability, and I'm so glad you all are attending.
Yes, we've done some great events over there at Cal State San Bernardino. I'm super excited to get back in person to be able to bring some more to that group. So today's presentation is on pickling. So pickling is something that's very simple and we all can enjoy. And pickling is preserving the food using vinegar or a salt brine. And basically in pickling, it converts a low acid environment into a high acid environment. And some low acid items consist of vegetables, meats, and some fruits.
Los encurtidos o escabecher, como usted lo conozca, es el conservar los alimentos con vinagre o salmuera. Y lo que ese proceso hace es convierte un ambiente poco ácido a un ambiente muy ácido. Los alimentos bajos en ácido consisten de las verduras y algunas carnes y algunas frutas.
So a key element in pickling is vinegar. And what we're looking for is a 5% acidity. And you want to make sure that you read the label because not all vinegar is created equal. Types of impacts and colors and flavor on vinegar. There's white vinegar, wine vinegar, red wine vinegar, and then apple cider vinegar. For today's presentation, you can also use rice vinegar, but that has a 3 to 4% acidity, so it's only suitable for the refrigerator process.
El vinagre para encurtir debería ser 5% de acidez. Por favor, lea la etiqueta. El tipo de color y el tipo de vinagre impacta el sabor y también el color. Por ejemplo, el vinagre blanco, vino tinto, sidra de manzana tienen diferentes impactos y colores. El vinagre de arroz sí se puede usar para esta demostración, que es el encurtido de refrigeración, pero para los encurtidos más seguros, los que guardan y duran años, por eso debería ser 5% solamente.
Pickling salt. Until I became a master food preserver, I really was not very attentive to the types of salt, but we want to make sure that you're using pure salt only. When I say pure salt, when you look at your box of salt, you can see here that it has the ingredients and it will tell you if it has anti-caking agents added. I'll turn it over so you can translate that.
Okay. Algo también muy importante es el tipo de sal. Antes que di hacía ese trabajo, no se daba cuenta que diferente tipo de sal tenía tanto impacto en los encurtidos. Tiene que ser sal pura. Y aquí puede mirar que esta sal en la pantalla tiene sal y tiene diferentes ingredientes. Eso no es sal pura. Algunos también tienen agentes para endurecer y también esos deberíamos de alejarnos de esos.
Very important salt. So canning and pickling salt versus kosher salt, you can substitute this by weights. So you can see in our picture here, you have canning salt in the middle and then the kosher salt over here to the right. And the canning salt actually is 4 pounds where the kosher salt is only 3 pounds.
También algo que tener en la mente, pueden usar el pickling o canning salt, que es aquí la caja en el medio. Y también pueden usar la sal kosher, que es la de la mano derecha. Pero tienen que poner atención al peso, porque eso va a cambiar la receta de sus encurtidos. Por ejemplo, la sal de pickling es 4 libras la caja y la caja de kosher es 3 libras.
And here's the or the recipe or the, what do you call it? Conversion, sorry. Words skipped my mouth. The conversion for canning salt to kosher salt. So you have a half a cup of canning salt, and if you wanted to use kosher salt, it would be 1 cup of salt plus 2 tablespoons.
Ok, entonces escriben esto, compañeros. Si quieren usar La sal de canning es media taza. Y si quieren usar la sal de kosher, es 1 taza y 2 cucharadas de kosher.
So reduced salt pickles, you can have reduced salt pickles if your diet directs that. I would definitely recommend that you test it on a small batch first to make sure that you are pleased with the flavor and the texture of your vegetables, but you can reduce the salt or use a low sodium product.
Y si por razones de salud ocupa usar menos sal, sí se puede usar reduciendo la cantidad de sal, pero hágalo poquito a poquito y pruebe primero en una muestra chiquita antes de hacer todo su encurtido.
Sugar, as we know, sugar's in everything, and sugar's also in our pickling. The most often used sugar is white granulated and brown sugars. Now, if you use a brown sugar, it's going to change the color of your solution, so it's going to be more of an amber color on that, so just be aware of that. But corn syrup and honey may produce an undesirable flavor. So if it calls for it in your recipe, that means that they've tested it and you'll be satisfied with that. But just be aware that it could change the flavor and maybe make it bitter or more sweet than you were expecting.
La receta también lleva azúcar y el azúcar usada con mayor frecuencia es las azúcares blancos granulados o negras. Y el azúcar moreno sí cambiará el color de su producto final. Y el jarabe de maíz también a veces que la gente quiere usar jarabe de maíz o la miel, pero pueden darles un sabor que no sabe bueno, un sabor indeseable. Úselos si lo quiere en recetas confiables. Las recetas que llevan esas mieles que dicen sí funciona, pueden usarlas ahí, pero no con esta.
So pickling cucumbers. Right now, pickling cucumbers are not in season, but when they are in season, you want to make sure that you're removing 1/16 slice from the blossom end or the fresh end of the cucumber, because the blossom ends contain an enzyme which would create excessive softening of your pickle. And if you're unsure which end is which, cut them both off.
Ahorita no estamos en la temporada de los pepinos, pero aquí pero gente encubierta encurte los pepinos muy seguido. Entonces, algo para acordarse, un tip, es que quiten una rabanada de la parte que tiene la flor, la parte de la colita que tiene donde estaba la flor. Si no sabe cuál lado es, corte de los dos lados. Una rebanada de, no sé cómo se dice 1/16 inch, pero una rebanada como
Sliver.
así. Y una chiquita, una rebanada delgada.
And you can also use Persian cucumbers, which we can get those year round here in California. So if you really have your heart set on pickles, use a Persian cucumber, not your slicing cucumber, because that will not result a good pickle.
Pero si de veras están en el corazón que quieren encurtir los pepinos Persian están en temporada todo el año.
So for refrigerator pickles, colors and flavors change when colors and flavors change and the acidity increases during the curing. This is not a heated process, so these must be refrigerated. The refrigerator is our preservation method for our item today, and that's very important that we understand that. And then you're going to marinate your recipe. You can taste it 1 day, 2 days, up to a week, or 2 weeks, depending on the flavor you're looking for. And then you want to use it within 3 months.
Los colores y sabores cambian y la acidez aumenta durante el curado. Ese proceso no es de calentar. Este proceso debería ser refrigerado. Esa es la manera en que estamos preservando y conservando esta comida. Se debe de mantener en el refrigerador. Para marinar, marine según las instrucciones de la receta y generalmente de 1 día a 1 semana es el tiempo que ustedes la mantengan en reposo para que se cure. Algunas recetas pueden necesitar marinar durante al menos 2 semanas antes de servir. Y esto debería ser consumido de 3 meses de que lo hizo.
If you're ever in doubt, if you don't think that it's good, it's always better to throw it out and start over.
Si está en dudas que tal vez todavía sirve, tal vez no, es mejor nomás tirarlo y no consumirlo para estar más salvas, más seguras.
This recipe can also be used to make the infamous pickled eggs. For pickled eggs, the only process that we would recommend as master food preservers that we can say is without a doubt safe is the refrigerator process. So it's the same type of recipe, your brine, you get your eggs and you can create, as you can see here in the pictures, all different varieties of brine. And the National Center for Home Preservation has a plethora, lots of recipes for you to choose from.
Una receta muy popular es los huevos encurtidos y los huevos en escabeche. Para hacer esa solución se hierve el decapado de vinagre, sal y especias y se cocina a fuego lento durante 5 minutos. Vierta sobre huevos duros pelados y refrigere solamente. Y esa receta es traída por el Centro Nacional de la Conservación de Comida y ahí también se puede encontrar muchas más recetas para conservar.
And a few tips to remember. Refrigerator pickling is quick and easy. It's a fairly simple process if you're running short on time. It's a great way to extend the life of your produce, especially in the summer months and even the winter months with some of these other great items that we have coming. If you have a plethora of it, it's a great way to extend that so that you have a good time to enjoy that instead of eating it all at 1 week. And then it's okay to modify the recipe for your preferences. Remember, it's only okay to modify when you're doing a refrigerator or freezer process. If you're doing a shelf-stable process, you do not do modifications. And I'll go ahead and and then we'll talk about the garlic.
Ok. El decapado o el encurtido en refrigerador es muy rápido y muy sencillo. Es una excelente manera de prolongar la vida útil de sus productos. Si no se quiere comer una libra de un producto una vez, se puede mantener y comerlas durante la semana. Y se pueden modificar esas recetas de refrigeración a sus preferencias, pero solamente los encurtidos de refrigeradores. Si es un encurtido shelf stable, un encurtido que no de refrigeración, no debe modificar nada. Hacer la receta a la letra.
Okay, so for garlic, cured garlic is going to stay white in the brine, but fresh garlic could turn blue. And if your garlic turns blue, don't freak out. It's okay. It's still safe to eat. It's just a matter of that curing process. So you're okay with blue garlic. And then the minimum ratio for vinegar to water is what we're using, or any other liquid, is a 1-to-1 ratio. You don't want to change that ratio. So if you put 1 cup of vinegar, you want to put 1 cup of water or 1 cup of your other liquid.
Algo también sobre el ajo curado permanece blanco, pero si tiene ajo fresco se convertirá azul y esto es seguro y no se debería de alarmar, es normal. La proporción mínima de vinagre a otro líquido es 1:1. Entonces, si es una taza de agua, será una taza de vinagre.
So fruit pickles, we kind of overlook fruit pickles. You don't think about that, but you can pickle apples. Over here is some pickled cantaloupe, and with the pickled cantaloupe, they actually use the brown sugar to change the actual color of that cantaloupe. I've had the pleasure of tasting pickled cantaloupe. It was refreshing, but it was definitely something that I was not used to eating, but it was very tasty. So you can pickle fruit as well.
Algo también que tal vez no piensan mucho la gente, que se puede encurtir la fruta. Y aquí tiene ella encurtido un melón. Las frutas en escabeche o encurtidos pueden dan un sabor agridulce y picante, muy, muy rico.
So for today's recipe, we're going to go through the steps. So step 1, we're going to prepare our vegetables. So we're going to wash, chop our produce and get it ready to go.
La receta de hoy, aquí vamos a preparar los vegetales. Entonces, si los quiere seguir, allá tengan sus vegetales preparados. Vamos a lavar y a cortar nuestro producto.
And step 2, cutting of our product. The type of cut that you use is entirely up to you. You can experiment with those cuts. You leave them whole, diagonal. I did little wedges. It's entirely up to you. So whatever cut you like, feel free to use that. There's no right or wrong.
En cortar su producto, el tipo de corte que utilice depende totalmente de sus preferencias. Los tipos de cortes sugeridos pueden ser unas rebanadas de monedas, unas rebanadas diagonales, rebanadas de palitos o dejar enteras como pimientos.
Step 2 is we're going to select our spices and get creative with what you're going to be putting in your jar. Again, there's no right or wrong. If there's something on the list that you don't like, don't use it. Use what you like and what sounds good in your creative minds.
Puede darse libertad creativa para seleccionar las especias que usted gustaría usar. Aquí tenemos unas sugerencias, pero usted puede poner lo que ustedes quieran y el sabor que ustedes les quieren dar. Aquí tenemos secos y frescos.
And the recipe here has 2 tablespoons to 4 tablespoons, depending on the size jar. As you develop more pickling and as you do that more, you may find a different ratio. So there's no right or wrong. So you can increase or decrease if it's too much or too little. It's just a guideline.
Esa receta tiene por el balance de 2 cucharadas de especias a una jarra de encurtir. Y usted puede aumentarle más la especia ya cuando haga eso primero y experimente con el sabor y gustaría aumentarle más las especias.
And here's a few samples of spices and what they look like. What you see here on your screen, the mustard seed, peppercorns, bay leaf, and allspice, and cloves, and the cinnamon, those are all components of pickling spice.
Estos aquí son unos ejemplos de las especias. Tenemos la semilla de mostaza, peppercorns, semilla de apio, el jengibre, pimienta roja, la canela, los cloves. Puede también mirar más recetas también en la internet para ver si quiere usar más.
So then our step 3 is we're going to pack our prepared vegetables snugly into your quart-sized jar or your container. You want to make sure that your container is able to withstand the heat of the brine that we're going to be putting in there. So if you have a plastic container, make sure that it's a food safe container and that it's okay that it holds a warm liquid.
Okay. Paso 3, empacar los vegetales en sus jarras. Asegúrense que las están presionando con presión, que están ahí muy cercanas juntas, que no haga mucho espacio. Y vamos a usar jarras de vidrio, pero si tiene usted un contenedor de plástico que quiere usar, debería asegurarse que es plástico de grado de restaurante, grado de comida, que le puede poner una solución caliente hirviendo y que no se va a deshacer el contenedor. Pero sugerimos vidrio si puede.
Well, I'll show you a couple of containers as well as we get into our demo.
Y él va a enseñar unos contenedores también que puede usar si no tiene los de vidrio.
The next step is for you to make a decision whether you want a sour brine or a sweet brine. A sweet brine, if you like those bread and butter sweet pickle slices that grandma used to make or that your mom used to make, that's definitely the brine that you're going to want to go with. And again, once you make a batch and then if you feel that it needs to have more sugar or less sugar, feel free to adjust that. Just do not adjust the amount of vinegar or water. Very important that you don't do that.
El próximo paso va a ser la decisión si quiere un encurtido agrio o uno dulce. Si les gusta a usted el sazón de esos pickles que tienen las semillitas, bread and butter, va a ser el agrio. y ya también puede hacer modificaciones a su gusto. Puede ponerle más azúcar, menos azúcar, pero la cantidad de agua y la cantidad de vinagre debería mantenerse igual siempre. No haga modificaciones a eso.
And then you're going to bring your brine to a boil and let it boil for about 2 minutes. Main thing here is that you want to make sure that your sugar and your salt are completely dissolved in your brine.
Va a hervir a su solución y lo va a dejar hervir por 2 minutos y luego sacarlo del calor. Y
And then step 5 is that we're going to fill the jars with our brine. And you want to like a ½ inch of at the top of the rim so that you make sure that you have just a little bit of room there. But you want to make sure that all of your produce is submerged in your brine. You don't want to have anything sticking up from the top. And a good way to do that also is with onion slices or just wedging your bigger pieces on top of your other pieces.
ok, y después que ya hierve su solución, va a ponerlo en su frasco. Deja como media pulgada de espacio arriba para de espacio y tiene que mantenerse y asegurarse que todo su producto, todas sus verduras está completamente cubierta de la solución del agua con la especia.
And then again, you could test yours after a day or two and see if you like the flavor of it. Depending on the type of product you put in there, if you've put something in there that's much thicker, it might take a few days for that flavor to actually get all the way through your produce. So test it, and if you needs a little bit more, then go ahead and give it a few more days.
Ya después del primer o segundo día puede probar cómo sabe uno de las verduras y puede experimentar si ya está listo o si gustaría dejarlos reposar y curar unos pocos días más.
And then step 6 is allow our jars to cool and place them in the refrigerator. And then make sure that you label your jars. And then you just make sure that you put the date on there, and then whether it's a sweet or sour, unless you just go one way or another in your homes. But just make sure that you at least put the date on there so that you know how long it's been in there and that you're eating the stuff that you've made first.
Okay, el próximo paso va a ser a dejar que las jarras se enfríen y luego ya que se enfrían las ponen en el refrigerador. Y un tip, una recomendación es que con una pluma, con un marcador, o si tiene un label, un papel que pegajoso, un sticker, que ponga el nombre de su tipo de su encurtido y la fecha. La fecha es muy importante para que no se olvide cuando la hizo y puede, you can track, para que pueda como estar monitorar cuando ya va a estar lista.
It's like my refrigerator, it could be in there for a while. Some things get lost. So we're going to go ahead and start our demonstration. Before we start, I just want to go over the steps just one more time to make sure that they're fresh in our minds. So we're going to prepare our vegetables. We're going to wash them and get them ready to go and get them sliced. Select the flavor or seasonings we want. Pack our container, make our brine, pour our brine in the jar, and make sure it covers all the items in our jar. And then we'll have to let them cool. And while Evelyn does the translation, I'm going to excuse myself for just 1 minute and wash my hands so we can get started.
Okay. Mientras que yo la demostración, ella se va a hacer lista para la demostración. Ok, la demostración, así se dice el ensayo de el encurtido. Antes que empecemos, vamos a revisar todo lo que aprendimos. El paso primero va a ser a preparar sus vegetales, seleccionar su producto fresco. Tiene que ser fresco. Si ya está como ya medio malo su producto, encurtiéndolo no va a preservar su vida, nomás se va a echar a perder. Seleccione las hierbas o las especies que quiere para su sazón. Empaca el contenedor. Acordamos que muy presionados. Y va a ser su brine, su solución. Y paso 5, va a poner la solución en su jarra y cubrir todos los vegetales y luego dejar que se enfríe, etiquete con la fecha y luego lo coloque en el refrigerador.
Now I'm putting some gloves on because I'm going to be dealing with some serranos, and I'd like to keep my hands burn free today, but
Se está haciendo lista y se va a poner guantes porque está trabajando con chiles serranos y no quiere que se quemen los dedos, o ya ves, a veces nos tocamos el ojo con el chile. Yeah.
And if you'd like, you can pin me to your screen so that so that you can get up close view. I will do my best. Everybody can unmute themselves now. We will go back on and bring up some resources after we finish this. So if you need to say, hey, I can't see that, just give a holler and I'll bring it over. My camera is kind of far from me, but I will give my best stretch today. So I wanted to kind of go over my setup here. It's so if you can't see it, I'm using bottled water. So I'm going to show that I have my bottled water here so I can get it off my table here. And then also my vinegar. I've already pre-measured my vinegar and my water here in my measuring cup. So I'm going to remove these so that you guys can have more space to see.
Estoy usando agua de botella y aquí mira que ya tiene todo listo, y para los purposes de esta presentación ella ya puso todo ya, en las tazas ahí.
And for today, I'm going to be using a food grade plastic container. I personally like the wider mouth ones just because it's easier to stuff your vegetables in there. But there's also a good case to make for the narrow mouth ones, because since with the narrow mouth ones, it will actually be your barrier and hold your vegetables down. So pros and cons to both.
Ella le gusta usar ese tipo de contenedor con la boquita muy ancha para que le quepe todas las verduras en una manera muy elegante y muy práctica.
So with your kids today, you got some wonderful vegetables. I have them here. This is the watermelon turnip or watermelon radish, sorry. You can see I got my long little tail here, and this is my stem end that was on here. So I just went ahead and slice these off. Probably should use my bigger knife, it might be easier.
Aquí tenemos el rábano de sandía y nomás va a cortar aquí las colitas del rábano.
So I'm just going to put these in my compost bin. Now I've done some slices here, so I've made some slices here, and you can see how beautiful those are.
Mm-hmm. Unas rebanadas hermosas de rábano.
Keep in mind that if you have thicker slices, it will take a little bit longer. And also keep in mind the size of your jar that you have.
Algo de tener en la mente que si hace las rebanadas más gruesas, tardan más tiempo para fermentar, para dar el sabor.
So
Y también
since
tengan en cuenta.
I'm not a chef, so I have a bigger slice here. So I'm just going to slice this one in half. And then that way I'll have two halves, and then I have different shapes. So I keep my fingers intact.
And also with the watermelon radish, if you slice it thinner, it won't be as spicy. And if you want more spice, you can keep it thicker.
There you go. A good point. This is my first time using watermelon radish. So any key points you have on that is very much appreciated.
Yeah. También algo con el rábano, si quiere el sabor picante, déjalos un poquito más gruesos. Y si quiere un sabor menos picante con el rábano, rebanadas más delgadas.
So this wasn't provided, but I had some left over and I wanted to show everybody. This is jicama. And this is a great substitute for pickles because it's going to absorb the flavor of that brine and be good and crunchy. I pickled this for the first time, I think like in August, and I was so pleasantly surprised. So I've been sharing that information with anybody that will listen. So, and it's fairly easy to work with. So I just go ahead and slice that there. And then you want to take off the brown portion, and you can cut it off or peel it off, but it will peel off. Of course, it's not going to do that now that I've said that, but it'll peel off. And then if you have any residue on there, you can just go ahead and cut that to make it a smooth edge.
Una verdura genial para usar para los encurtidos es la jícama. La jícama, cuando se preserva, absorbe todos los sabores y los sazones que les pone allí. Y aquí está enseñando a ti cómo prepararlas, cómo quitarle la cáscara de afuera y cortarla para usar en el producto.
So I do mine in this matchstick slices, but I did for the first time make wedges. So I cut some wedges too, just so we can have some different variations on that.
A mí me gusta cortarlas en palitos delgados, pero también se puede usar como más como forma papa, como una forma de triángulo.
I already cut my onion, but you also received an onion. And one thing I want to say, if you're going to be using red onion, that color will actually bleed out into the color of your brine. So your brine will have a different tint to it. So don't worry about it. That's natural and that's what's expected to happen. So if you have a colored vegetable in there, your reds, or if you put beets in there, some of that color is going to get into the color of the brine.
Y también en su kit tienen una cebolla roja y por el color de la cebolla sí se va a cambiar el color poquito, el rojo se va a sangrar a la solución, pero esto es completamente normal y eso pasa cuando tenemos verduras de diferentes colores.
And then also we had squash. I already cut half of mine, so this is the other half, so just so you see what it looked like. And then what I did was I just made them into wedges. But if you wanted to do matchsticks, you could do that as well.
Y aquí yo ya corté mi calabacita, pero aquí se les enseño cómo la corté. Y yo también la corté en rebanadas de palitos, pero se puede cortar como usted quiera.
The nice thing is that if you can see how thin that is, that would be like what you remove off of the blossom end of the cucumber. So see, it's just a slice just to take that off.
Aquí les está mostrando la delgadez que hizo la rebanada cuando está cortando la colita del pepino o de la calabaza. Nomás una rebanada muy chiquita.
And then we have some garlic. You just peel your garlic. And if you like a lot of garlic, feel free to put more than one clove in there, by all means. And then we have our serrano peppers. I have some red and green ones. Since we have the items that we have here, normally if mine are store-bought, I'm not sure if they've used pesticides on them, I cut my stem ends off. But since I know where these came from, you don't have to remove that stem end. I just do that as extra caution for me. But I know where these came from, so I'm leaving them on today.
Con los chiles serranos, cuando yo los compro de la tienda, me gusta quitar la colita, la cosa como el stem, porque uno nunca sabe cómo se crecen esas verduras con pesticidas y químicos, pero como sé que esas vienen de Huerta del Valle y son orgánicas, las voy a dejar completamente enteras.
So I'm going to go ahead and start my brine heating up. And if you're doing a larger batch, so say if you're doing maybe 6 cups and 6 cups, that will take a little bit longer to heat up. So you can actually start that heating process as you finish chopping. But since we're doing a smaller batch today, this should heat up fairly quickly. And I'm going to add my salt and my sugar. I've pre-measured my measurements, my tablespoons in here.
Okay, ya medí mi sal y mi azúcar aquí en estos platitos y las voy a meter a la solución.
I'm going to give it a little stir. And now I'm going to start packing my container. There's no right or wrong way to pack your container. Feel free to do it however you'd like. I like to add pickling spice to mine, but again, add the spices that you like to put in your items or experiment with. And depending on how fancy I want to get, I'll stand them up and kind of arrange them.
Okay, ahora para poner las verduras en el frasco, primero las especias, los que ustedes quieran, y aquí ya voy a empacar mi contenedor. Y no tiene que ser súper elegante, pero ahorita lo voy a parar para darle una mirada más elegante. Se pueden arreglar como ustedes quieran.
You want to make sure that you get it packed in there pretty good.
Y empácalos cercanos, empácalos muy cerquitas de uno al otro, sin espacios.
And I have my little bit of onion. I'm going to slip it in there whole. Some more of my radish. And one thing that I didn't talk about, but since I see it's waving at me here, is fresh dill. It makes my kitchen smell so good, and I like to use fresh dill.
Me gusta usar gel fresco, huele muy rico y es muy bien para los encurtidos.
So I had a presentation on Thursday, I did this for, and I did that. So I just snapped the ends of this off, and you can smell that dill coming through.
Tuve una presentación ayer y cuando ya corté las colitas, gracias. Cuando corté las colitas del eneldo, el olor que dio por la cocina era algo maravilloso.
That's where our packing skills come into play. Give our brine a little bit of a stir.
Menear, dale una meneada a su solución.
Excuse me, Dee.
Yes.
What is the, so there, I think we all got this pre-measured vinegar. And then what is the ratio of vinegar to water? Is it 1 to 1?
Yes. So if you probably had 3 cups, so you're going to have 3 cups of water added.
Okay. And then for these like smaller containers, do these all just go in as like, are these all measured or are these
Yes,
just?
those are measured for the recipe that was provided. So 3 cups.
I figured, I just wanted to make sure before I start dumping things in.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I forget. But yes, the recipe, for those of you that picked up kits, it's 3 cups of vinegar, and then you'll add 3 cups of water, and then the sugar and salt have already been pre-measured for you, so you just add those into your brine.
And then Dee, are these rutabagas also? What are these?
White turnips.
I think.
Oh, yes, yes, okay.
Yes, okay.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to stop interrupting now. Thank you.
No, please do. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody else had probably the same question, Mandy, so thank you.
Yeah.
In the chat, I did place that for the CSUSB students, they did get bigger containers. So they can definitely, for the CSUSB students, they did receive an entire gallon, everything in bigger measurements so that they can use after this as well. So they'll have to measure themselves.
Yes. So, and this recipe will do more than one container. So depending, and it really depends on the vegetables that you have going in there, because you're going to displace that water. So you have 6 cups, and this is only going to hold like 2 cups. So depending on, you could get 2.5 containers, or if you're using the smaller containers, you'll get many more. I usually have brine left over, and then I wind up scrounging around the kitchen for extra vegetables to finish my brine up, because or I have to make a double batch, and then I have extra. So, and if you have extra brine, you can put that in the refrigerator and add it to the next time that you're doing it. One of the reasons why I don't add the seasonings into my brine as I'm heating it up is that I have this as a sour brine, and if I wanted to do half sour, half sweet, if I go do my sour first, then I can add the sugar to make it into a sweet brine. But if I've already added other spices in there, you may not want those spices in your sweet brine. So I always keep it basic, and then you can always build on it from there. But basic is always a good place to start and a good place to be.
Una razón que no pongo mis especias a la solución del agua cuando se está hirviendo y la pongo en el frasco con las verduras es porque se puede cambiar las cosas muy fácilmente de esa manera. Si se arrepiente que no quiere ser una solución agria, que en vez quiere una dulce, o del otro lado, puede hacer esos cambios con la solución ya que no tiene las especias ahí todavía.
So I wanted to share with you pickling spice in case people haven't seen that. I'm sorry if it's backwards, but you can get this in the grocery stores. It's very readily available. Or you could make your own if you are a culinary expert. You can whip your own up.
Y aquí les estaba mostrando cómo se mira el pickling spice que está ahí empacado. Los pueden encontrar en las tiendas, nomás así se llama pickling spice, especias para pickling.
And now that my brine is cooked for its 2 minutes, you just simply add this to your container. And then after you add the brine to your container, you're going to want to let your container cool before you put it in the refrigerator. You want to add that piping hot container. And I always put a plate underneath it because I always make a mess.
Hi, I'm confused. How long do we cook our brine?
2 minutes.
How long?
2 minutes.
So we bring it to a boil and cook it for 2 minutes?
Yeah, the main thing is that you want to make sure that you are getting that the sugar and the salt are completely dissolved.
Okay,
So get
so
that
I'm
to
gonna bring
the
it.
boil, 2 minutes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Fairly quick with the small amount, but again, keep in mind if you're gonna double or triple your recipe, it will take a little bit longer to come to boil.
Hi, Mandy, I'm Mandy's mother. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for joining.
Hello.
Usually my mom's here, but my mom's working today. So you can see how beautiful that looks with those watermelon radish. Look at that.
Mhm.
Gorgeous. My little bit of jicama in there. And as everybody's putting this together, I'll share with you some that I put together. These are carrots and jalapenos. And this is something very easy for you to do for the holidays and to have these things out on your little appetizer trays, and you made them at home. I got some onion in there, and I'll go ahead and open this so that you can see how far the brine is up there.
Ahorita mientras que ustedes están cortando los productos, les quiero enseñar aquí mis jalapeños, zanahorias y cebolla que encurtí. Eso es algo muy simple de hacer y mira muy hermoso ahorita para los días festivos.
Are you able to see that? Because I can't see my screen.
Yeah, we see the top of it. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I need multiple cameras.
There are recommended.
I need a crew.
Sugar, spice, and salt that we should use.
And then I made a bigger container, and you can already see, I'll bring this up here. My garlic's already turning blue, and I'll bring that over to the camera. But this was just my leftovers. So I have a mixture of everything. I have my Persian cucumbers. I have big slices of jalapeno, my carrots, my jicama. So whatever was left, I just threw it in my container and went ahead and made a big batch.
Thank you, Dee. Was there a question just now?
So you can, I don't know, can you see that it's already kind of got a little blue tint on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Victor had a question. Go ahead and ask the question, Victor.
I just wanted to know if there's a recommended amount of salt, sugar, and spices that we should add to our brine.
So for the recipe that was provided, I believe it's 3 cups of vinegar, 3 cups of salt, and then 3 tablespoons of canning salt and 1 tablespoon of sugar. That's for the 3-3 ratio. So if you're going to make a larger batch than that, I'm not sure if you had extra or not, but if you have a larger batch, then you'd want to multiply that. Got to do a little bit of math. See, you never thought math was going to come useful.
Yeah, let me write that in the chat, Dee. Could you repeat that once more?
Sure, it's 3 cups vinegar, 3 cups water, 3 tablespoons canning salt, and then 1 tablespoon sugar.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then your seasonings that you want to put in there, you can modify your seasonings however you'd like. I usually put like a teaspoon in a smaller container and a tablespoon in a larger container. And like with my dill, I put 3 sprigs in there. If you like a lot of dill, or if you like a strong garlic flavor, then put a little bit more in there to make sure that you really get that flavor to come through. How's everybody's containers coming along? Good? I know everybody, there you go. Everybody's kitchens is smelling of vinegar and water, right?
Nice.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Still cutting veggies.
Yes.
All righty. Yeah, I know. I cheated a little bit. but that way I can answer any questions that anybody has. And you'll notice I can already see some of my reds I'm gonna have a little bit of a pink hue in mine. And I just want to keep stuffing that jalapeno down there. I'm gonna have to wedge it in. It wants to pop up. And your lid's gonna help keep things down as well. And that's why you want to make sure that you have a 1/2 inch on there. Beautiful. Aren't those gorgeous? I love them. I'm super excited to taste them.
Quick question for the red onion, do you add the whole thing or just the bottom?
Just the bottom. I've never pickled the sprouts there. So I wouldn't be able to tell you how that is. I feel free to do that. But I just took a couple of slices on there because this onion smelled very strong. Sometimes onions, and I didn't want it to overpower mine. So I always add onion to mine personally. I add just a little bit. I normally use white onion. I don't know why. I guess my husband likes white onion better.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I guess the short of it is I'm not sure how those green stems would pickle, but mine are pretty crunchy, so I'm sure that they would absorb that flavor within 1 day.
Mm-hmm. Is it a preference to use water bottle, or should people use only water bottle for their solution?
Bottled water. And the reason that I bottled water is if you use your tap water could have extra minerals in it. So to keep your brine clear, bottled water is recommended. If you don't have bottled water, nothing's going to happen to you. It's just that your brine may get a little cloudy.
Se recomienda el agua en botella porque el agua de la llave tiene más minerales y puede darle una apariencia como nublosa a sus encurtidos, pero es solamente un tipo de estética.
These are so gorgeous. I just love them. I'm going to want to grow them now. That's also, as everybody's preparing that, it's really important to support either growing your own vegetables or supporting those that are growing vegetables. And a lot of people think that they don't have time to eat vegetables. This is a great way to be able to incorporate vegetables into your diet. You just take a little bit of time and get together and get this done, then you'll be able to enjoy them for months afterwards. Although I suspect that once you start eating them, they won't last months. You'll probably go pretty quick, but then you'll just turn around and then you'll pickle your next batch. Then you can make changes to what you did in your last one. So it's always good to maybe write down what you did so that if you want to adjust your recipe. I'm working on that myself of being disciplined enough to do that.
Hey Dee, I just have one more question. What about the peppers? Are you putting them, are we just dropping them in, or are you cutting them in half?
You can cut them in half. Since mine were rather small, I kept them whole. But when I cut larger peppers, you can cut them in coins too. Like my husband likes to eat the whole peppers. That's why I left them whole. But if it's just a flavor for you, feel free to slice them in coins or in half.
And if you're like a gigantic baby about spice, should they maybe not even be included?
Maybe do one batch with and one batch without. But
okay.
I'm going to add the baby one because it does add a little bit of flavor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Try a batch with the baby one.
I have a glass of ice water nearby. That's perfect.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. I had made a batch a while ago, and I have different flavor profiles in my family. My dad does not like spice. My mom and my husband live for spice, so they like it super duper hot. So there's always a battle going on between, is it too spicy for my dad or that? So I'm always very aware of, is it too much spice? I actually added a little too much spice to my other batch that I did, and I gave myself heartburn the other night.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
It tasted really good though, but
nice.
I paid for it. My system was like, stop.
Oh, okay. Somebody's asking, they use water with reverse osmosis. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Amelia, I had to look up RO, but now it seems very obvious.
Nice jar, Amelia. Looking good. Like I said, make sure go feel free to taste these a little bit, maybe tomorrow or Monday, and make sure it's absorbed that. Again, depending on how thick you cut your slice, it may take a day or two. And sometimes I've seen some recipes where it says, it takes 2 weeks. Mainly on those recipes that say that it takes 2 weeks are ones that you're canning for shelf stability. So you're actually processing them with a water bath canner or a steam canner. And those you would want to wait 2 weeks to really develop that dill flavor, that vinegar flavor in your vegetable. But our fresh veggies are going to suck in all that brine.
Perfect. And just for clarification, we let it cool on the counter first, right? And then we
Yes, I have mine without my lid on there, just because I just want to make sure it's getting cool. It's still a little warm to the touch, but after it gets cool, then you'll put your lid on it. I have my little piece of tape here that I'll put my date on there, and then you just stick it in the refrigerator.
Perfect.
Evelyn, can you clarify for the CSUSB students the measurements of the pickling spice, because we actually have provided for them also more than what it's needed. So
on the pickling spice, I put 1 teaspoon in my jar. If your jar's bigger, you can put up to a tablespoon. If you like a strong pickling spice flavor, I would go with the tablespoon.
and then you can either put it, I know that for the last presentation that I had seen, it was either you could put I chose to put the pickling spice right after the veggies before I put the brine, because of the way that some of it was like, it looked really nice on the bottom, but when I did my second jar, I ended up placing it afterwards, so that way it could kind of float up and down. Is that okay?
Yes, that's perfectly fine. I oftentimes, especially if I get multiple things going, I feel that I've missed one and I get there. So just add it afterwards. And then there's also an item called Pickle Crisp, and I'll if I find one in my cabinet, I'll show you. Depending on what my item is, I don't necessarily use Pickle Crisp all the time. If I were doing maybe more shelf stable, I would do that. But with your crunchy item, your crunchy radishes and your turnips and things like that, and the jicama, you don't need the Pickle Crisp, because these stay good and crispy, and these will stay crispy for a while. I demonstration on Thursday was cauliflower, and my cauliflower was pickled back in August, and it was still crunchy today.
Wow, nice.
Let me see if I can find that Pickle Crisp. So this is what Pickle Crisp looks like. They're just like little dots. You can't really see it because of my light, but.
Oh, okay.
And this is, you can find this in the canning supply or the canning aisle. I know a lot of canning equipment or canning supplies are hard to come by right now. But this would be more available in the springtime, because that's really when people start gearing up to do pickling. So you probably would have to order this online if it's something that you choose to use. Not necessary, but it's always good to have options. I'm going to sample one of mine from yesterday, so I can see, and I can critique it for you. So this is just a coin pickle, and I actually did these on Thursday, and they're good to go. And Mandy, I gotta tell you, I got a lot of jalapenos in there and it's not too spicy.
KD, I'm gonna keep my faith in you. Maybe I'll drop one in.
Just
Yay.
make 2 batches. We'll make a spice burger out of you.
My husband will eat it if I don't.
It's a really good flavor. And you can use these, you can chop these up and top them on top of your salads. You can add them to your sandwiches. You can chop them up and put them into deviled eggs, into the mixture of the deviled eggs instead of your relish. Lots of uses for pickled, if you don't just eat pickled ones straight off of your little trays that you have before your holidays or just nibbling before a meal.
There's a place in Redlands that does that. It's in Claremont too. It's called Eureka Burger. And on their veggie burger, they do pickled, like firm pickled vegetables, and it's so good.
Tasty.
Awesome.
Really good.
I'm super excited to see so many people here today because I'm telling, once you start pickling, you will like pickling. You will like the flavors, and you'll actually say, oh, what this needs is a pickled item. And then you'll be able to create your own flavor profiles,
Yeah.
becoming your own master chef in your kitchen. Yeah, that's got lots of. That was all my leftover. And that's generally what I do is if I wind up having more vegetables than I can actually stuff into my jars, I just find a container and I dump them all in and go for it. And what I was mentioning is that sometimes it's really good to catalog or make notes when you're doing your pickling, because sometimes you, especially if you're gifting it or if you're sharing, they'll say, this was great. How do you make it? And you'll be like, So you give them a basic recipe, but if you've added it and you've put your own flair on it with some spices, just remember the spices that you put in it. And that's why also when you're labeling your container, you can put on there what spices you put in there. Because I got to tell you, not all spices are going to be a flavor profile winner. There are some that you won't like, but there'll be some that you really like. But don't be afraid to try it. Try it in a smaller batch, make your brine up, and then do multiple jars. And then you can experiment that way. Experiment with a half a teaspoon of pickling spice and some dill or no dill and pickling spice, just so you find out which flavor you really like. I personally like pickling spice and dill when I'm doing my pickling. And if you have a hard time finding fresh dill, because sometimes it can be tricky to procure that from our markets or our gardens, you can also use dill seed or dill weed. And then what I would do if I'm using dill seed or weed, as I would put those in the bottom of my jar, or if I'm going to go full blown with that and I'm not going to do anything, I would add them to my brine and let them cook and boil in my brine for the 2 minutes. So I really make sure I get that dill flavor through, because when you're using a dried herb, it is going to take a little bit more than a fresh herb.
Aquí nomás está compartiendo di que ya que se hagan expertos de el encurtido y van a cambiar sus recetas y aumentarles diferentes especias, y que luego sus amigos les van a preguntar cómo se hace esto y pues tal vez no se van a acordar de qué le pusieron ahí adentro. Entonces es una muy buena sugerencia que con el sticker que le pongan con la fecha y también los ingredientes que usaron en su solución. Y algo más, que a ella le gusta mucho usar el dill, que es el eneldo fresco, y a veces es algo difícil de encontrar en las tiendas. Entonces, si no las puede encontrar en las tiendas, también se puede usar la semilla de eneldo o eneldo en seco. Pero si está usando el eneldo en seco o la semilla, eso sí se pone en la solución cuando se está hirviendo, porque cuando es algo seco a veces no da la solución, no suelta el sabor en total. Entonces así, si lo hace en la solución hirviendo, se graba mucho el sabor. And do we have a question in the chat? What about purple cauliflower? If I pickle purple cauliflower, will the vinegar take away its color?
It will dilute some of its color, but it will still have that color to it. So because that vinegar is going to diffuse some of that color in there, but I can tell you that with radish, when I have my red radish, just, and that's red and it's just really on the outside skin, that it will remove all of that color because there's not a whole lot of pigment in there. But with purple cauliflower, I think there's enough pigment throughout that it will lessen it, but I don't think it will take it completely away.
Perfect.
So if you have purple cauliflower, let me know. Let me know how it works.
Awesome. Can
That
I
would be a
use
beautiful
red
jar.
onion with the radish?
Yeah, just eat it quick.
One more question. Can I
Yes.
use red onion with the radish?
Yes. You can, any combination, and if anything that you received or that you have is not something that you enjoy, gift it to somebody who will enjoy it, and then make your jar to what you'll eat. The main thing is because a lot of people they don't experiment with pickling, so make it pleasing to your palate so that you're sure to try it. And you start with baby steps, and then you can grow into other items. And then when you start getting adventurous, you can get into the other things, like pickling okra or asparagus. Very good. How's everybody's jars coming along? Good? I think it's starting to hail here at my house.
Wow.
Oh, beautiful. I like it.
Wow.
Look at all those jalapenos, Georgina. I like it spicy.
That's beautiful. I like how they all look different.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Look at that. Oh, I like that.
Yay.
Yes. Gorgeous.
Wow, very nice. Nice rounds.
And I got to tell you, the squash that I had, look at you, and you got a little jar too. The squash, I had not pickled squash before. I did it this year because we had extras, and I was a little concerned about it. But I did mine in August, and I still have some, and it's not like super crispy, so it is a little flimsy, but it's got great flavor. It has a little bit of a crunch, so it's not mushy. So it's a good thing to add into, make it into salad dressing or add it into, again, my pickled eggs or a recipe that you have that you would use a relish in. And it's got that good texture.
Yo en lo general no uso la calabaza para encurtir, pero sí lo hice por la primera vez en agosto. Y lo acabo de probar hace la semana anterior y no está crujiente, pero sí tiene un muy buen sabor. Sí está poquito como, pero o sea, de la textura, un poquito flojo, pero está delicioso en ensaladas, está delicioso lo que lo puede usar, pero sí salió muy bien. Entonces así les va a salir sus calabacitas a ustedes.
And if you don't like what you make today, don't give up. Try again. It's really important.
Y si no les gusta lo que hicieron hoy, no se den por vencidos. Inténtenlos otra vez.
I see filling going on. Nice. And again, also, I sliced my vegetables, but I also saw some that were chopped. And if you like to have it where it's chopped or you want to make it into more like a relish, where you have like a fresh relish on there, by all means, dice it up. Yeah, I thought that's a great idea, especially with the holidays coming up, because my family likes deviled eggs. So might as well add some extra vegetable into those deviled eggs, right?
Y a mí me gusta hacerlos en rebanadas, pero veo que algunos de ustedes los están cortando muy fino y eso también está bien. Le da una diferente como manera de cómo se mira, como relish. Entonces sí, es algo muy genial. Yeah. Who else is crying because of the onions, I think?
Yeah, the onions are getting that vinegar facial. Take your breath away. I remember I had done a recipe with apple cider vinegar, which is much stronger, and I had it going on the stove, and my mom's all like, "What is that?" Kind of like the guayaba. And she's like, "What is that?" It can take your breath away, so be careful. Don't stand over your boiling pot.
Sí, tengan cuidado con los cebollas. Sí, es como un facial de cebolla está diciendo que sí es poquito peligroso.
Also, yeah, one more plug. You saw me wash my hands a couple of times during the presentation, especially with what's going on now with our country and things that are going on. Be sure to wash your hands frequently. It's something that's learned, and you have to really think about doing that. And once you become accustomed to it, you'll do that.
También con todo lo que está pasando ahorita, pero sin embargo, antes de la pandemia todavía era muy importante lavarse las manos en cuando estamos manejando o tocando las verduras para esas demostraciones.
I've never done much with fresh chili. Is it a good rule of thumb to always wear gloves when you're working with them?
I do, and I didn't before, but when I didn't, and then I had a little bit of chili remnant on my hand, and then got it on my face, it will burn and it will last. You think it's not there, so it's really good to use gloves when you're dealing with chilies, because even though you think you get it, you might have a little bit on there, and then especially if you're go on to something else and then you get on another part of your anatomy, may not feel very good.
Alguien preguntó que si es buena costumbre tener guantes puestos cuando está tocando o cortando los chiles serranos, y está diciendo que sí, pero ella sí los usa los guantes porque a veces tiene algo de chile en su mano, se toca la mano y se toca el ojo y le quema los ojos, y a veces si no tienen cuidados van a ir al baño y también se tocan en otro lugar, entonces ahí también va a quemar mucho.
Yes, Amelia. I'm making tamales. You definitely need gloves. I've done the same mistake too. And then your poor hands get so chapped, and then you're just, oh, yeah. You think, oh, it's just a chili. I'll be in and out real quick. Yeah. They last. It's the everlasting gift. Yes, tamale season's coming up too. How's everybody doing with their jars? Good? Now you'll be super set for when spring comes around and when they have all those wonderful vegetables coming through, especially pickling cucumbers. You can make your own pickles. I try to grow every year pickling cucumbers, but the aphids tend to get them before I can get them grown. So I haven't given up yet though. This is year 4. That's dedication and persistence, right?
Of making tamales?
Pickles.
Oh, pickles, yes.
Oh yeah, I do tamales every year. Every year we talk about, you usually wind up doing around 100 pounds of masa.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
It is.
But we said we weren't going to do it this year. We were going to scale back. So we're going to scale back on as much as we do, but we'll still do it. It's my husband's family tradition. So it's not the holidays for him unless we do it.
Yeah, I understand that. Dee cada año hace 100 libras de masa para tamales, pero este año un poquito menos, van a hacer poquito menos, pero dice que la familia de su esposo es una tradición para ellos, los tamales cada año. About how many tamales does 100 pounds make?
Well, it depends on if I've got my good spreaders. But usually it's upwards of 60, 70 dozen.
Wow.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. But we have a lot of people in our community that ask me to make them for them.
That's awesome.
And then my mother-in-law, she's like, "Oh, please make me some," because when we go down to my mother-in-law's house, but she doesn't do the large scale like she used to, just because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Could I put in my order?
Yes. We were just talking about because last year for the first time, normally I buy my masa, but I made my own masa last year for the first time. So it was a learning curve, but they turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
You were just talking about how I need to get that big old mixer so I can be down on there, then get it whipped up.
Nice. Yeah.
It's a little handheld mixer, you'll burn it out.
Oh,
Or you do 5 pounds at a time, and that can take a long time.
yeah, that's true. That's true. What fat do you use in your masa?
In my masa, I did use a little bit of pork lard, but not much, just a little bit for flavored. And then I used oil.
Yeah, I like
I put vegetable oil in mine. I did some vegetable and some canola, but I didn't use all lard this time. Normally when you buy it, you're subject to what they put in it. And like no offense to the markets or anything, but sometimes my consistency would be really good and sometimes it wouldn't be. So that's why I decided I was going to go for it and I was going to really try it this year. But I used I didn't use a whole lot of lard, just enough to make it, tasty. And then the oil. And then also I put the juice from the meat when I cook the meat.
Oh, that's probably a really good idea.
Yeah, really helps with the flavor. Except for if someone's getting a little bit of chicken flavor and they have pork meat in their tamale. So, so just depending on what kind of tamale you're making.
Yeah.
Oh, Dee, did I also read, I think in Evelyn's board report that you guys are going to do apple pie filling? Some kind of like instruction on that too. That sounds delicious.
We are working on putting that together. We are going to be doing, it's going to be another refrigerator process, but just in time for the holidays so that you can make fresh apple pie filling. We did that class last year in public when we were at the Highland Library. Extremely popular. You can use it for all kinds of things, all kinds of toppings.
Yum.
Definitely be watching the IERCD because they'll be posting it on there with what time we're going to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Super excited, yes.
Yeah, super excited. Otro evento que tenemos en el futuro va a ser las conservas de las manzanas para hacer el relleno de los pies de manzana. Entonces, asegúrese que están siguiendo IERCD para que vean cuándo se va a hacer y cuándo pueden registrarse.
Yeah, Amelia, I haven't used that other the Guajillo chili. I think is how they announce it. My Spanish is pretty bad. Sorry if I butchered that in already.
Guajillo.
But yeah, I always like to use a different. We had gone to New Mexico. We had traveled over there to see a girlfriend's thing where I got some fresh New Mexico chilies, and those were really good. I sell them by the 25-pound bag. It's just amazing. By roadside, they're all over. And I went through Hatch, New Mexico. Right? We took a trip through Hatch, New Mexico.
Oh, nice.
I have to tell you there, everything on the menu is Hatch, New Mexico, and it comes with chili on it, whether you want it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if it says mild, well, Mandy, I got to tell you, mild is not mild. It's hot. But it was tasty. Is everybody happy with their jars? They still working on them? My container is almost cool enough for me to put in my refrigerator. And then the nice thing about these containers too, these plastic ones, is that if someone doesn't give you your jar back, you're not heartbroken. So that's good.
That's a good tip.
Oh, a second jar. All right, Georgina. Yeah, the nice thing about that recipe is that you can typically get more than one jar out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have enough to completely fill your jar, if you only have a jar that's half full, that's good too. Still go ahead and pickle your leftover veggies unless you're going to use them for your stir fry or your, in lieu of your chips tonight watching your movie. I don't know. And also one more plug for jicama. I know we didn't get jicama, but you can get this. I think the jicama is reasonably priced, like under 60 cents a pound. My jicama was actually really large, but this is really, really very tasty. It absorbs the flavor, and it's something that I've bought this before many times, and I always have good intentions, but I never get around to doing it because I like to have tikuma with lime juice and then the tahini on it, so that you get that flavor. I like that profile. But this has become a new way that I make sure that when I bring it into my house that I use it, and I use it all. And I really got to tell you, when I didn't have pickling cucumbers, I was a little sad, but that made a great substitute.
Mm-hmm. Somebody's asking Dee, for the food grade containers, the plastic ones, where can they buy them?
I got mine at Restaurant Depot, but like Smart and Final has them. That's open for everybody to go in there, and then you can they come in multiple sizes, so you can get a little like a smaller one if you just wanted to do just a real small, and I would probably use that with the really diced up items, or you can get a pint or a quart. I haven't seen them much larger than a quart. So Restaurant Depot or Smart and Final would be a good one. I think there's pretty much Smart and Finals at each part of San Bernardino area ish. There's one down on Mount Vernon. There's one over on Highland. And I think there's one in Rialto as well.
Wow.
And I think there you don't have to necessarily buy the whole case, because you may not want 250. Well, you may. That's going to, guarantee that you're going to keep pickling.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good way for leftovers too. I see some pictures being taken.
Yeah.
Share your pictures on the Facebook. That's great. We love to share that. And then also it builds excitement for the next time that we put our event together. This is what, our second time, or is this our third time, Evelyn?
With us, second time.
Second time, yeah, second time. This is probably my 6th time doing a pickling event, maybe my 7th. It was really challenging when we had to start going distance and not being able to be in person. And this was one item that we felt we could do. Evelyn pushed us to do our first one, which was kind of nerve-wracking, but it was great. And it's great information, and everybody can use a little bit of fun time with everything that's going on in our homes and with what's going on with our country right now. So thank you again for allowing us to be able to bring this to everybody.
I think you guys did an amazing job, and I think the innovation of getting people to come pick up materials the day before is such a great solution to the pandemic. I think probably a lot of people wouldn't participate if they had to go out and get everything for different reasons. Less organized people like me, if they had to go buy all this stuff, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do it this week. So that makes it really, really great. And we ended up, I had like 2 containers.
Nice.
Cool.
With, my daughter was labeling also.
Yeah.
That was my granddaughter you heard. Anyway, what I was going to say is, along with what Mandy said, I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm really kind of hardcore because I really don't like to cook. And I only came because I was trying to be supportive. And I have to tell you, this was the most pleasant surprise. I'm going to do this again.
Okay.
And you really converted me. And Mandy can tell you, I don't usually do these kinds of things. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm super excited to bring more. I'm going to try and do some freezer jam. So maybe we can do freezer jams in December, just in time for the holidays. I got to work on getting that together, but I think that it's good too. It's always good to be able to do a few of homemade things. It does taste so much different. We're so accustomed to processed items and items that we have in our grocery stores. And with everything that happened this year and the limited supplier that had come in and come out, it's always nice to be able to have the skills to ensure that you can produce your own items. And that's one thing that the Inland Empire Resource Conservation District allows us to be able to promote and share with everybody, is that ability that you can take control over being able to have certain things in your house. So if you're not growing, grow some vegetables, start a little garden. And if you grow too much, always share with your neighbor. Someone will have use for it. And you never know who you're going to get a good recipe or a good idea to use something that you're growing. Some things are easier to grow than others. I will admit that. Actually, this year, for the first year, we did tomatoes again. This year we do tomatoes every year. But my dad went crazy with tomatoes this year, so we had a lot of tomatoes. So I actually made a tomato juice cocktail. So I made my own tomato juice this year.
Nice.
And it was pretty tasty. I was surprised, and it wasn't difficult to do. Oh, look at all those jars, Amelia.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Lovely.
Before we end today, we should all turn on our camera and show the jars, and we'll take like a big group picture.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
It's always good to see what we have. I mean, look, that's a massive jar there. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And then they'll be requesting for you to bring these to any event, anything that any little get together once everybody starts getting back together.
Mm-hmm.
Will you take that picture for us, Evelyn?
Yeah. Okay, let's do it now. Okay. All right.
I think everybody's getting them together.
Yeah. Okay, let's turn our cameras on, everyone. Let's take a picture.
Oh, I love that, Yvonne. Beautiful.
Okay, all right, let's get a position. Okay, picture in 3, 2, 1. Pickling. Beautiful.
Awesome.
That was so much fun.
So be on the lookout for our apple pie filling class,
Mm-hmm.
which can be used for much more. You could just use it on the side if you want. You don't have to make a pie.
Thank you, ladies. Excellent job.
Your mom's nice sharp knife did a good job.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
put that stuff up. I should have.
Any other questions about anything? And feel free, if you have questions after the fact, to reach out. You can reach us on our Facebook page, which is the SB MFP, and then we will get a response to that. Again, we are a volunteer organization, so we may not be joining on the spot, but we will get back with you.
If you're on social media, also tag us with your pickles, share a story of your pickles and tag us. We love to share those types of stories. Follow us. We're trying to reach 1,000. Let your friends know.
Cool. I love that jar, Amelia, that little shorty one. That's when I had this one here. I thought that jar was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
We have a jar.
I would like to just remind also for everyone, you can tag ASI at CSUSB, and make sure you also tag IERCD as well as Huerta del Valle, because that is where the it is on the chat. That is where the veggies came from. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexander, for sharing this. Perfect. Okay, I think everyone has, Sawani Alexander has everyone's emails. I will email everybody with the recipe, with our social media handles, and I think anything else that we can think of, maybe the recorded presentation if it's available.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again here. I have, maybe, there we go, our sources. And we can send this out definitely for anybody. The recipe today came from the University of Maine Cooperative Extension, which is, they're also teaching people about food safety. So that was great that we were able to get that. And then just wrapping things up, don't be afraid to experiment. Looking forward to hearing and seeing about all your pickling projects. And then next weekend, UCCE does have a garden to table workshop, which is going to be an online event. This will be with the master gardeners and the master food preservers. I'll be presenting jams and jellies next Saturday. So those are the times for that. If you're interested in that, we can go ahead and get that put in the chat as well. And then you can just keep an eye out for us.
Okay, vamos a tener más eventos como el evento de relleno de manzanas y también un evento de jardín. Entonces, si quiere unirse con nosotros a estos eventos, asegúrese que nos está siguiendo en IERCD para que esté al pendiente de nuestros eventos. Yeah, we'll share the picture with everyone. It came out great. Everyone looks amazing.
Oh, cool. I have to invest in some better tape. I need to get some painter's tape. I keep saying that, and every time I go, I forget. I forget to pick it up. But that's what makes me human, right? Any other questions about preservation that anybody has? If you find yourself in a situation where you'd like to learn more about food preservation, the National Center for Home Preservation has great free information out there to get anybody started on their preservation journey. So there is lots of information out there. Just be cautious that there's also a lot of information out there that is not science-based or research-based information. So if something sounds like it's not something you should be doing, don't do it. Check with a cooperative extension site or with the National Center for Home Preservation and see if they have some directions or material on whatever process you're looking to do.
La preservación de refrigeración o la más segura es algo científico. No nomás leen lo que encuentran en el internet de recetas. Asegúrese que es una receta que está aprobada por una extensión cooperativa como la de nosotros, que es el UCCE. Nomás tengan cuidado en las recetas que encuentren. Si algo se mira como si no se oye bien o que es un poco raro, tal vez es raro, no deberían hacerlo.
So I wonder who made the hottest jar today.
Yeah. I think so, Wani.
Yeah.
No, I didn't put, my mom didn't put any chili. No, we don't eat spicy stuff. No, we don't eat spicy stuff. So my mom did not put any chili inside. No. We usually just make like chile on the side just in case we wanted to add something in there, pero no, we don't normally eat a lot of chile.
Look at that big old patch right there.
Yeah, Amy won for sure.
Amelia, awesome.
3 serranos is good, Georgina. I like it on the mild side. I'll put, 1. I always put 1 in. I did a chocolate cherry jam. And yeah, it was, but it called for cayenne pepper in it. And I was like, I am not putting cayenne pepper in my chocolate cherry jam. But I'll tell you what, it made all the difference, just that little bit. So I made 1 with and 1 without so that I could do the taste difference. But it did make all the difference to have that little touch of cayenne in there.
Nice.
It helped accentuate that chocolate and cherry flavor. Oh, that was a Pomona's pectin product. And I am a huge Pomona pectin. Let me put that in the chat, PomonaPectin.com. I love Pomona's pectin.
Oh, someone shared that they recently went to Angela's Oaks, and when apple picking. When are you going? When are you going to have the apple events? I think it's still up in
We
the
are
air,
going
right?
to have that the week before Thanksgiving, so in like 2 weeks.
Okay.
You can and you can store your apples in the freezer. I'm
Oh,
copying
okay.
this here. So you can freeze the apples.
Nice.
My spelling is not very good today. I think that's it, the Pomona pectin, but if not, you can Google Pomona pectin.
Okay, perfect.
Great products. If you haven't heard of it, it's a product that allows you to do low sugar jam making. So a traditional sugar jam would be, say, 3 cups of fruit to 3 to 4 cups of sugar. With Pomona's, it'll be 3 cups of fruit, and you'd start as little as a half a cup of sugar. Now, there is a trade-off when you're using Pomona's pectin. You would, your jar is not going to last as long once you open it because you don't have as much sugar, and sugar is a natural preservative. So you do have to keep that in mind, but I think that's a good trade-off to have that less sugar option, and then you really get to taste your fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So how are the apples frozen? You can slice, you'd slice them for sure. And I would peel them for apples, for freezing apples. Just because traditionally when you have apple pie, it doesn't have the skins on it. And you can maybe do apple pie filling, so.
Perfect. Well, I think we're at the end of our event, unless anyone has some questions before we log off.
All right.
¿Algunas más preguntas antes que nos despedimos? All right. Awesome. Thank you everyone for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us into your homes or your dorms or wherever you're calling from today.
Definitely.
Allowing us into your life for a little while.
Have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Take care of yourselves, relax, recharge.
Enjoy life.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So we can stop recording now, right?
Yeah, you can stop recording now. Then you'll have that. We can always play back.
Alex, so I think you have to stop recording so that I could go to, you're going to request it to go to the iCloud, correct?
Yeah, it'll go to the cloud, or unless you record it on his device, and it'll take it just a few minutes. So I learned something new today, though, on my thing, is that I could have my webcam going and still have my laptop open. I didn't discover that on Thursday, so I was flip-flopping back and forth. So
Yeah,
I learned something new today.
I saw that because we're seeing you like front on, but you're looking into your laptop. I'm like, how is she?
Yeah, I'm looking into my laptop. My camera's over here. So next, because the clip that's on it, it doesn't hold on to my laptop, so I have it on a tripod.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
I realized that when I was looking here, I was like, I should be looking right there.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Awesome.
Alexander, you want to go ahead? We're still recording. Do you want to stop the recording and then put it to the cloud?
Yeah, I
And
had
what we'll do, we'll see if no, it's fine. We'll see if maybe Herbert could cut off the end then.
Mm-hmm.